Now I can go into sculpt mode. Okay, sculpting. You can click this tab if you want to see your yellow, but I prefer actually to see the gray, so I'm just going to make sure it's on material, and there's just this gray. Okay, so a few of these brushes, all these brushes here on the left are pretty much fantastic. The ones I like, clay strips, is awesome, right? See what happens there. Basically just test a bunch of these out and see which ones you want to use. Blob is awesome. Crease is good. We can basically draw. Oops, if I shrink this, change the strength of your brush. Remember the wrench, all the tools up here, the wrench and the screwdriver. This is basically your tools for what mode you're in. So here's my sculpting tools. I can change aspects of my brush. There's fall off. That's basically the fade from the outer circle to the inner circle. You can add a texture, which is pretty cool. Like we can paint based off of a picture. Dino topology. So that's going to add geometry based off of. That's going to add a bunch of geometry no matter how much geometry is already on the mesh. It's going to add the amount of geometry I choose by detail size. And that's pretty cool. So I'll demonstrate that. So I'll click this. It doesn't matter what geometry is already there. It's going to add the geometry that I want using triangles, kind of a honeycomb effect. And it's convenient in a lot of cases. Like if you don't have a lot of geometry, if you don't want to be working with a lot of geometry, like say you could use this modifier on 2. Whoops, we already applied it. You can use the subdivision surface modifier on 2 and use Dino topology, and maybe that'd be easier for you than going to 600,000 and just going straight up. So if you hold Control, it'll indent instead of draw, instead of kind of protrude. So holding Control will do the opposite. Basically, what you have here: direction, add, subtract. Holding Control will do the opposite of what you have ticked off right here. So some of them work in different ways. So if I hit crease, it's probably going to, creases subtract by default. So that's where you can change that, or you can just hold Control and it'll do the opposite. So I think what I'll do is maybe we'll just add some wear and tear to this. I'm not going to be too artistic here. If you hold Shift, by the way, it'll smooth. So if I draw some stuff and I hold Shift, it'll smooth it out. Right? I don't want to do that. Okay, you just go around and you can sculpt some wear and tear like crazy like that if you like. Just gonna maybe add some scratches. Come in a little bit more. A big nick there. Okay. We can actually add a. Sometimes metal will like rust, right? Do something like that. Rust will bubble, especially if it's coated. Okay. Now you can use symmetry here as well if you want. So if we want to be mirroring on the X and Y axis, if we want to be mirroring up and down, you can use the mirror there. If you want to mirror on the Y, like say if you want this face to look the same as this, or to actually be whatever you draw. So if I punch that there a few times, just going to punch it here as well. I hold Control and it looked like somebody hit it with a hammer with this blob option. It's going to be doing it on both sides. Let's go to blob. Let's just draw something simple. If I went like this or something, whatever you guys want to do, whatever you feel, and maybe you just want to do a single little line like that. Maybe that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. So I'll crank this up. I'll draw just like there's a design. If I hit Shift Z, I can see my Z-axis and just follow it. I can sort of see my Z-axis, excuse me. Oops. Okay, I think that'll be just fine. Let's smooth that out in the middle. Now we can take our crease brush, this one right here, and we can just trace that so that it looks like it's more embossed than it is. Alright, I think that's fine. So that's something like a, I don't know, a Mario coin, something from Donkey Kong. I'm not really sure where I've seen this before, but I know I've seen it before. Anyway, I think this will work fine. So another thing we can do is we can pull this out a little bit. If we hold Control, it'll pinch. Maybe we can do it on there around this thing too, just a bit. Holding Control and just dragging to get a little more of an edge. Okay, it looks more like it's kind of flat there. Cool. We can add some scratches, some more dents to this, I guess. Smooth this out right here. Just make it look more busted up. Okay, I think that's good. So let's save, Control S. Let's go back into layout. So what we're looking at now is this. We have our low poly coin right here. So what we can do is we can actually bake this high poly onto the low poly. So let's try that right now. Let's come to your rendering options right here. Change the rendering engine to cycles. We just need to use this for our bake. So click bake. Come down to bake type. Let's click normal. So you got a bunch of different options here. We're just going to use the normal. We're going to go selected to active. So all that means is I think the last one you selected to the most recent one you've selected. The margin is basically where it's going to place the UV island, so we can go to UV editing and make sure that this is going to bake properly for us. Whoops, go back. That. So we do want another texture. We want this to bake not onto our albedo. We want a new texture. So I'm just going to click new. I'm going to say coin underscore normal. Okay. And we can change this to be a default normal map color, or we could just leave it whatever. It would change it anyway. Okay, so let's go to shading. Let's change this to the normal, just so that our active texture, just so it bakes onto our active texture here. So it's going to recognize now that there's a texture waiting to be baked, and it's not going to affect our albedo by doing this. So let's go to high poly, shift, click coin, come back here, go down to bake. Everything is here. Select it to active. Okay, and we can try and click bake. Circular dependency, that's fine. So it's baking, and there we have it. So that's going to create some crazy artifacts most likely. So let's go to texture paint and see what happened. Okay, so it kind of worked. One thing we can do to help with this, I don't want to actually paint. One thing we can do to help with this is Shift D, duplicate that low poly coin, go into edit mode, Alt S, and that's going to scale on the normals. Now I can actually show you that it's inflating and not really scaling up, scaling down. It's more inflating. So we're just going to inflate it until it completely covers the sculpt. Good. So what this is going to work as is a cage, telling basically Blender not to shoot rays beyond this thing, which is where we're getting all this yellow. So we could use this probably, but it's going to look pretty bad. So let's try it this way and see if this fixes it. So let's go to high poly, low poly, bake. Selected active, we can click yes cage. We can select this, coin there. Okay, let's try baking again. Much better. That's exactly how we want it, right? So a cage works pretty good. If you've got a complicated mesh like a character, it's not going to be as easy. Back to layout. Okay, let's hide the high poly, let's hide the cage. I'm actually going to rename this cage, coin, normal, bake, cage, just so we know. Leave that alone again. Okay, so now if I go into shading, if I change this back to my yellow, right, I want to go Shift A. Sorry, we also have to save this image, right? Don't forget that. Image, save as. Okay, we're going to save it because it's not here. It doesn't exist right now. Just in Blender. Save as. Shading, now we can add it. Texture, image texture, open. Okay, it's right here. Right, going to normal. It's not working properly yet. We need that normal map node. Shift A, add that. Change this to non-color, and there we have it. Now we can change the strength up, and it's going to be, right, back, it doesn't go negative in Blender, but pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so now we can paint this based off of that kind of geometry like that. So let's go to texture paint. Remember, you can change these just up here. Click this, make sure my material preview is on, or you can go rendered. In cycles, it's going to be a little extensive, a little heavy, so let's go there. Alright. Okay, so now when I texture paint, I also want it to mirror on the Y. So let's do that. Let's go down to symmetry, say Y. So now if I paint here, it's going to paint on the other side right there like that. Great. So I think I just want to do S, select this yellow and make it a little bit darker. I think it's best for me to have 100% strength while I do this. Yeah, I don't want it that dark. Good. So with 100% strength, you're not going to change. So if I had 50% strength and I colored this, and then I went over it again a little bit, it's going to like make one darker section there. Maybe you want that, but I don't right now. Okay. Shift Z to Control Shift Z to redo. All right, I'm just going to come down Don't want to be perfectly straight or anything like that. I can go be a little bit brighter. Like I said, I'm not going to go too crazy with this. We are going to bring in a texture and use that as a brush. So you can also paint textures sort of as a stencil. You can paint it as a tiled map as a brush. We'll figure all that out in just a sec. I'm going to go here, I guess, leave a little ring around that one maybe. Yeah, let's leave that big white part the way it is. Okay. Alright. So I think that's pretty cool. We'll go to, we'll take this ring too. Why not?